Hello and welcome to the Biokinetic K9. We are going to be talking about K9 sports training and injuries. So it's basically your injuries that are related to the training you are doing for your sport and how does it impact your sport. This is a really interesting topic for me. And to tell you the truth, I had a completely different topic lined up for tonight. And then this morning, I saw an article posted by Dr. Athena Kepler. And that topic is just not today. We are going to be talking about what she wrote. I found it absolutely awesome. And I'd like to discuss it with you guys now. So before we do that, let me just introduce myself. My name is Angela Hearn. I am the owner and founder of the Biokinetic K9, and we do conditioning and fitness for dogs, especially sport dogs. And of course, that's why I absolutely love this article. So what we're going to be talking about today, and you are most welcome to comment. Let me know where you're from, what you do with your dogs, how you train. All of these things are coming up. So let's get into this. Canine sport training and injury. This is something that's very close to my heart because I've been involved with this. Those of you who know me know that in my IGP, my own dog got injured, and only because of my training. I could have prevented it if I knew what I was looking for, etc., and I knew how to spot the signs. I could have prevented it. But let me just introduce you a little bit. Let me give a big shout out to the author of the article, Dr. Athena Kepler. Just let me read my stuff here. She is a doctor of veterinary medicine, and she's also the author of a new book that's come out. It's already got rave reviews, called The Fundamentals of Canine Athlete Nutrition. So this is a must read for those of you who haven't heard of it. Go and look it up. The Fundamentals of Canine Athlete Nutrition. And she did this article this morning called Prancing Healing and the Age of Amazing Trainers. That is such an awesome title. I'll tell you why. A lot of our healing for IGP, competitive healing, when the dog is looking up the side, it looks so flash. And I know that a lot of trainers, they aim for that big front stride of the dogs. It looks really awesome. It is flash looking. It is prancing. And although it is not, you don't get extra points for it in a competition, a lot of trainers aim for that. And a lot of trainers succeed because our training has improved so much compared to then. People's training skills and training techniques have really, your top handlers have upped their game, really. And so because of this, they've managed to get the dogs to do all of these things. So the article was about how we train and the injuries related to sports training. But why I like this article especially is because Dr. Kepler, she trains in IGP or Schutzhund sport, protection sports. And that is my sport. And that is a sport I love and see and do and train in myself. So she's not only a trainer and competitor in the sport, she's also a helper or the assailant, the person that wears the sleeves, the thing the dog attacks. So she's really involved with dog sport, and she has got first-hand knowledge about what is happening in the sport, not only as a veterinarian, but as a competitor and trainer within the sport. She knows the dogs. So when she was talking about this article and sporting injuries relating to sport, she said she's probably sure that it happens in most sports, but her article related only to IGP. And that really I read to the end really quickly. And this was like 4 o'clock in the morning. So she's talking about IGP. And that means that because she trains it, she's a doer. She's not just a person that theorizes and watches from the side. She's a doer in the sport. So she has first-hand knowledge of the sport, and being a vet, this really helps the situation a lot. And she talks about the most common injuries within the sport that she's seen. And that is your iliopsoas strain, or your groin injuries and your CCL, your cranial cruciate ligament injuries. So the injury in the knee joint, the injury in the top of the loin, above the stomach, just underneath the spine, that's your iliopsoas. So if you think of an iliopsoas, think of, if you're a meat eater, the whole fillet. That big piece of fillet, it runs all at the bottom of the spine, from where the ribs start right into the pelvis, and attaches onto the inside of the pelvis, and it's only a muscle that attaches the spine to the top of the femur, the top of the leg. So it attaches the top of the body to actual legs. It's one of those only muscles that do it. It's a really important muscle. It's a huge muscle, and it's used for twisting the body, so twisting the pelvis when a male dog lifts his leg to go to the toilet, and it controls the body when the body is in the air. And then she's talking about the groin muscles, the muscles all along the inside of the back thighs. Those muscles, you get a lot of injuries, like your gracilis muscles, all those gracilis injuries, you get them. And then, of course, that dreaded CCL, that expensive knee ligament that tears or ruptures, those injuries that come to the fore. And she's explaining that she's seeing an increase in injuries in this area. And she also explains that the increase could be because people are better able to diagnose them now than they were before, or there's a better awareness of these injuries within the sport as people become more involved and more knowledgeable about what's happening with their dog. So that is awesome. But she also says that it could be because the type of training that we're doing with our dogs may be predisposing the dog to this type of injury. So what does she mean by that? When we're looking at just for competitive healing, we just look at that, and we look at the healing style. So a lot of the dogs are walking with the head up. That automatically shifts a lot of weight to the back end of the dog. So immediately the back legs are carrying a lot more weight. Many times when they are walking, especially this prancing healing, there's a lot of weight carried onto the back legs, but the back legs don't go through that full range of movement within a normal stride of a dog. So if you watch the healing, the back legs are generally stepping quite short, and they're really tight underneath the pelvis. So this causes a shortness in the muscle. There's no full range, there's no full stretch of the legs, and the stretch of the legs out at the back. So this healing keeps the muscles short and tight. And then also, if you look at, we first get that weight shift. So there's short muscles are happening, but now they're carrying a lot more weight than what they usually do, because the head is lifted up and there's a weight shift. But also, if I look at IGP, we've got the healing work that shifts the weight back. There's a hold and bark. When we do protection work and the dog has to come around and do a hold and bark in front of the helper, there's a sitting or holding its body up on its back legs, and it pounces its front legs. So this weight shift onto the back legs, keeping those back leg muscles short and tight all the time while they do their big, powerful hold and bark at the helper. That gets practiced very, very often. So it's not only at the bind, but also after every out within that protection sport. The dog does a hold and bark. So those muscles get tighter and they work a lot harder than any average dog. Then also within the obedience, we are looking at the heel work. There's the meter jump, where a lot of weight shift gets put onto the back legs as they've got to launch over a meter jump, not your agility jumps, which go up to 60 centimeters, but this meter jump, which we practice. And then there's the A-frame. There's a backward shift of weight onto the back legs again, launch up onto the A-frame, and then coming in for the land, bringing the dumbbell back, etc. Every time your dogs do those flash flip finishes, left turns, how we ask a dog to turn around and you see those back legs move out and they do that 90-degree turn to the left. And when the crowd sees it, they go, wow, there's applause for that. It uses a lot of strain on the inside groin muscles and generally just to the one side. We very rarely see that big flash right-hand turn in heeling, but we do see a lot of left-hand turns and flip finishes every single time we stop, every time we having to bring the dog into heel and then finish after retrieve, after the jump, after the A-frame. All of these things are happening all the time. So there's that one-sided flip finish to the left, to the one side of the groin all the time. So the one side of the inside groin is being worked more than the other side. And then there is also, if we think about working the helper, if they're doing an escape and the helper is driving that dog and the dog is up off their front legs, or sometimes the helper will keep their arm up to keep the front legs off of the dog. It's not always that the dog is being driven with all four legs on the ground, so there's big fighting. The dogs fight with their front legs on the helper, back legs on the ground, using huge iliopsoas work, that bottom lumbar part of the spine where the iliopsoas is, to control that movement, that sidestepping. The groin muscles are working like you cannot believe. And all of this on the back leg, where those knee ligaments are taking a lot more loading and weight bearing as they do the work. So within IGP Sport, you can see there's a lot of emphasis on the back end of the dog. And when it comes to the back end of the dog, we are not working all the muscles in the body. When we are working the back end of the dog with our heel work, those legs are not getting their full movement. They're not getting all the training that they need. They are doing flip finishes to the one side only. The more you train, you're causing that imbalance. And the problems highlighted in the article, Athena mentions 4 problems, but I love how she's described them. She says these are problems for injury, but they are also essential for great sports results. And this is so true. What we do to get the big sporting results is also one of the big problems which causes increased risk to injury. And what does she say these problems are? She starts off with problem number 1. She says, we start young. We start these puppies young, and we can do that because our training methods have evolved, and we're using a lot of rewards and good times when it comes to training for a young puppy. And the puppies are so enthusiastic. So we are starting our puppies young, and we start them generally with heel work, that looking up at the handler, and we reward with food for them just looking up. So we are asking them to carry extra weight on their back legs. So they're immediately doing a form of a strength training on that very young skeleton. And they're only developing certain muscles, and they're straining certain muscles all the time from small. These puppies are small. By the time they get home, by the time they're 3-4 months, they are busy doing this. And you see videos of the 6-month-old puppy doing perfect heel work, and the crowd goes, wow. I've seen dogs that do the prancing of the heel work. It's this one dog, the training must have been out of this world. The dog was doing prancing, but stepping. It was rhythmic. And all the comments were like starry eyes and, oh my word, wow, wow, wow. And it was very wow to look at. And I was just thinking, oh my word, do you know what is happening in your dog's body? Because he was prancing like this the video was 3 minutes long. And the dog maintained rhythm all the time. But the body is tense for that entire 3 minutes. There is no rest period at all with this heel work. And if you think about it, when we start our puppies, they are young, they're small, their body hasn't got the stamina or the long-term ability to work this hard, which many trainers do take into account. But they are working with this extra weight on their back legs. The healing time, by the time they reach their BH, your good citizen equivalent of obedience, then they are, how many hours have you put in for heel work? The dogs are allowed to enter that competition by the time they are 16, 18 months. Many people enter the competition at 2 years, 18 months to 2 years to 18 to 24 months. So that's 2 years 18 months worth of heel work in that position where the body's carrying the extra body weight on the back legs. And there's no stretching and fluid movement of that back leg all the time. The muscles are working in that position all the time. So by the time you reach your BH, you've put in loads of hours just on heel work. That's it. That means that there's more wear and tear in those areas of those soft tissues. 2 years worth on a young body's worth of wear and tear. That means that the more you've done your heel work, the more you have created those muscle imbalances for the left turns, for the flip finishes. The more you've strained the muscles, particularly in the iliopsoas and the inside thigh muscles, the groin muscles, and you've put that extra pressure on the knees, because when they start off with the heel work, their back is a little bit sloped, they don't have the muscle strength yet to carry it, and they're carrying their legs right underneath their pelvis. And that puts much more pressure on the knee. So the dog's knee, their shin bone is not like a human's, which is flat on top. It's at an angle. And if their legs are right underneath their pelvis, that angle is further sloped, and it places the pressure on the ligament where that bottom tibia bone has got that pressure to move forward. And so that ligament is under a lot of strain. And because they don't have the muscular strength around the knee yet to support the knee, then you're putting strain on the ligament, on the other soft tissue, because the calf muscle and the thigh muscles and the tendons that strap around the knee from there are not fully developed and not fully strong yet. So you're putting imbalances right from an early age onto that dog's body. And puppies are always eager. That's what makes them so cool. They're such a joy to work with. They are there, like, yes, they will do anything. And we don't notice that they're getting tired. And when a dog's body gets tired, the first thing that happens is the muscles are not able to contract as strongly as they should to hold the body in a position that it needs to be in. And if the muscles are not contracting and holding the body, the skeleton is on its own. And that's where you get your increased risk for injury. So that's when the ligaments in the knee are on its own, and they're the ones that's holding the leg together. The muscles within the groin, they are not able to contract and hold those legs together. So when they have to step to the side, the muscles are tight and they can't pull the legs in fast enough. And then you get your muscle strains. The same with the iliopsoas. So we start the dogs young, and mainly because we've got good training methods and good training techniques, we can. But like she says, this is a important aspect if you want to have good sports scores and good training results, but it's also the increased risk for injury. Then she says that next big problem, which gives rise to certain injuries, but important for sports results, is repetition. We repeat our training. So like we did, we start with a puppy, and by the time they do their BH, they are at least 2 years old. So that's a lot of repetition just for heel work. So repetition and repetition and repetition creates overuse injuries. If you look at any strength program, any person that knows about strength training and conditioning and gym for dogs and to get them into condition, they say never do dedicated strength training on a puppy's body. That constant repetition causes overuse injuries. And you don't want the muscles to become so strong that it's too strong for the bones to handle the strength of a muscle biting and the tendons get against those bones. So you want to have the puppy to grow naturally and not have muscles that are overly strong, too strong for the skeleton to handle. So that repetition, to get your good scores, you have to start young, and you are then creating those overuse injuries on those soft tissues. So repetition, it does definitely bring clarity and certainty to the dog as to what it must do and how it must do it. But it also creates fatigue. And we as handlers, we don't know what those signs of fatigue look like all the time. We don't know what to look for. So your puppy, your young dog's mind is like, yeah, let's go, we can do this. It's not tired. The mind is there, but the body, it's struggling by the time it's tired, and we don't know what to look for. You are then just causing that wear and tear. Those repetitions are not good on a young body. Problem number 3, but essential for good scores in competition, is that we only train certain tasks. And this is for any sport. So if it's flyball, they do the box turn, they do the little jumps, that's it. For agility, they do the jumps, they do the turns, they do the wiggle sticks. We only train certain things. For IGP, we do the behaviors for left turns, for retrieves, for where the dog has to come in and sit in front of us. We do things for heel work, the looking up all the time. Certain dogs look straight up, certain dogs look to the side. It causes different muscle imbalances straight up and to the side. And that's the only thing that we train for. So we train for specific behaviors. And if we are training for specific behaviors, and then we're repeating those training all the time, and we are doing it on young dogs, so problem number 1, 2, all coming to problem number 3, there's a compounding effect. What happens then is your muscles and the structures in the dog's body are overused, and problems 1 and 2 become highlighted. And then because we are working only certain behaviors, only those muscles are worked in a particular way, and the rest of the muscle in the structure, for example, the back leg, are not worked optimally together so that the back leg as a whole remains strong, that both back legs as a whole remain strong. So if you think about it, if you look at just the back end of the dog, you've got the iliopsoas and the core muscles around the loin of the vertebrae. You've got the butt muscles, those bum cheeks, that are 3 muscles that are really important. They are the main step for the driving power forward of a dog, just those bum muscles. And then you've got those thigh muscles. So for example, if you've got imbalances in thigh muscles, your driving power forward, even if your bum muscles are strong and your core is strong, you don't have the full driving power. You don't have the full, there will always be a weakness in the back end. If you've got good core and you've got good thighs, but you don't have good bum muscles, your back end is weak. If you've got good bum muscles and you've got good thighs and you don't have good core muscles, your back end is weak. You need to have all of those areas strong throughout both left and right and throughout the dog. If one of them is not strong and not carrying their weight in the movement of the dog, you've got compensation injuries just in the back end. So we need to make certain that we don't create those imbalances, but they invariably develop if we are training just for the sport, just because of what we are looking for to show our training off in the dog's body. And then, of course, the problem number 4, a problem for injury, but also essential for great sports results. I love that phrase. She says, we are working with high drive dogs. This just makes all points number 1, 2, and 3 in surround sound neon flashing lights. High drive dogs, they just carry on and carry on. They have no self-preservation. They don't show pain, or they don't even understand how pain manifests in their body. The fact that they are high drive just compounds all of these factors for increasing wear and tear. They are their own worst enemy. They hide the pain. I know this from experience in my 2 dogs. So they hide the signals for pain. And unless handlers know what to look for, they know how to do those body checks, they know what the signs are of a dog that is not comfortable in the body, we will not see the pain at all. And so we need to be super diligent at being able to spot those subtle signs of possible issues. This is so true, those subtle signs. So how can we do this? So we can see there's 4 seriously valid points when it comes to iliopsoas, groin, and cruciate ligament problems just for IGP dogs. I'm sure that the same applies for the majority of all the sports. There was a agility paper out the other day that shows a weak core has a correlation to cranial cruciate injuries. Here it is. When you don't have a strong core, the other structures have to take more of the work, and they are doing the work that the core is supposed to be doing. If that core is too tight, and if that core is too flexible, it's not doing the job, it's not strong enough. Something that is too tight and hasn't got the flexibility cannot gain maximal strength. If something is too flexible, it is invariably weaker. So we need to understand what is the optimum way to develop solid strength within an area of a dog. Riani, hi, you are here. Small whispers, that's true. Small whispers. If a dog gives you these small whispers, they are signs that you need to look for. So with all of these 4 areas that makes for high risk of injury, but also essential that we do in order to get good competition scores, what can we do? It is essential then that you condition and maintain that dog's body. You as the handler are responsible for maintaining muscle balance so the dog can show off your training. You are responsible to ensure that they are getting proper sport-specific cross-training. Don't think that swimming is the cross-training event for your IGP dog. It's not. You need to do more than just swimming. A lot of people correlate swimming with low impact strength. Nowhere in IGP does a dog do this movement that it does in swimming. So you're working the muscles not for the sport that you're doing. Swimming is awesome for cardiovascular, awesome. And I'm not saying don't swim your dog, but don't just put it down to I swim my dog, so my dog is getting good cross training. That is not enough for this sport of IGP. But that I can promise you. If you're saying, well, I'm resting my dog, like Dr. Kepler says, resting 1 day in the week, yes, the body can then recuperate, but you're not doing anything to correct the imbalances. Because when you start training again, you're just training from where you left off with those same imbalances, and you're just amplifying them because you are training more. You need to have a proper healthcare system. You've got to have your physios on hand. You need to be able to know how to massage your dog. You need to learn to look for those signals that the dog is giving you. Learn about the body checks that you can do to see if your high drive dog is showing you discomfort. There's always a change in their posture. If they are not doing well, there's always a change. Bob, hello. Oh, somebody's saying this is so important. It is so important. Bob, you said, I know from experience about an imbalance, but you caught it. You caught it way in time. Without our conditioning work, I would never have spotted it early before an injury happened. Yes, she saw a definite imbalance in thigh size of her dog, and she's applied all her conditioning knowledge. We've gone through everything, and she's done everything, and the legs are the same. His movements are so much better now. He walks more powerfully. Everything about him is, how can I say? This is not the words, but so much better. Like, you cannot believe. So you can change and protect a dog. You can still do your sport. Nobody's saying don't do the sport. Every sport creates muscle imbalances. Human, dog, everywhere. But you can protect that body and still compete and still get high scores and still do the sport that you love and still save that dog's body from the injuries and the risks associated with sport. So when you're looking at body checks and those subtle signs, learn what to look for. Is your dog not sitting in a square sit or not sitting in a square down? Is it some toeing out? What's happening? What is his baseline? Do you know what your dog normally looks like without an injury? Do you know what your dog looks like if something is uncomfortable? Do you know how to check those bodies, whether they are moving or in a stationary position? Is he just ever so slightly touching the jump? These things are not because your dog is lazy today or he may be a bit tired. Let's just do something easier. If that is happening intermittently even, because an iliopsoas injury is not that the dog shows pain all the time. It's an intermittent problem. If you can catch it soon enough, you don't have 1 year's worth of rehab because that's an iliopsoas injury. If you can catch it in time, you can carry on and rehab around that injury. Maintain the body as you go. Because you, as the trainer, the handler, you are only as good as your dog's ability to show off your training. So if you want to have those strong flip fingers, those really square left turns, you can have them, but look after the body that has to maneuver in that way. If your dog has got one strong leg and one weaker leg, ever so slightly weaker, there's that force and that extra risk every time he does a left turn compounds. And then it's going to show itself on the odd jump one day where they're just not tucking the legs in like they should, or they're just slightly touching the jump, or it's going to happen where they are in super high drive and they're fighting the helper and you're not going to see that injury happen. Then you've got a long road. So these are all the things that you can do. You can protect that dog's body. And it's not just by, well, let me just heel on the right-hand side there. It doesn't change the fact that healing will create a short hamstring. So training on the right side, you're then targeting different muscles, but you're not fixing the whole frame structure of the dog's body. Oh, somebody's saying story of my life. Yeah, same. That's why I'm so passionate about this. You can do things, you can help your dog and still do your sport really well, if not better. These are things, and I know people that do heel work, they're pedantic. Your competitors, you're A-type personality, it must be right or it's just wrong. And you concentrate on the small areas, and when you concentrate on the small areas, there's higher repetition. And it could be sometimes that your dog's body is just not in balance, that he physically is unable to make the small adjustment. And your conditioning and your canine gym helps those things for you. So that's exactly why I've put this whole foundation strength program together, so that you know how to look at your dog to see what's happening in their body and to know how to condition and strengthen each leg so that they can work in unison with power. And you can continue doing your heel work and your IGP and your jumps and the fighting the helper, all of these things. So what we do in our foundation strength training is we go through about the how, why, and what's happening with the dog. Then we go through the exercises, what it works, where it is applicable in your sport. But we start off, your dog can't do any further exercises unless he gets this right. So about how to stand properly, to use all the muscles in his body so that there's no weight shifting in the body, which will help you determine if there is any irregularities in the musculature. All of these things, how to see it. We encourage you to do all of these things with your dog. There is live group calls. We do live group calls. I love discussing these things. And I love the questions that I get so that we can investigate and work through them with the course and with the exercises and with the program. You have PDF downloads of each exercise, what to look for, what to check off that your dog must be able to do before you can progress, what you must train, what you must maintain, and how you can work those exercises in a gym training program. There's a training plan, this awesome group of people. I love these people because they're so interesting in their questions and what they ask. And the guys that come to the live calls, the things that they explain and what they are seeing and what they realize, I even go, oh, wow, just awesome. So all of these things are available to you if you go and take a look at our strength program. I'm going to put it in this comment. If it doesn't go in, then I will paste it in afterwards. Let's just see here. Let me see if I can press send, if it works. Let me know if it's there. I'll check after the live call. But go take a look at it. If there's any questions that you have about the program, send me a message. I'm happy to answer them. We do have a early bird. It's finishing on the 9th. The cart will be open up until next week, and then we have our first live call on the 20th of this month. So take a look at it, see if it is for you. If it's not for you right now, no worries. If you are interested and you want to find out a little bit more, send me a message. But try and get that early bird. It's not going to be offered for that price again. You're going to learn more than what you pay. I promise you that now. And it's always being added to. I'm always expanding it, and you will always have access to me and how we go through the exercises. If you have any questions, there you go. You're saying that the link is in. Awesome. Anat, you there? Thank you for joining. So if you see the link, go take a look at it. Click to get to the cart and see if it is for you, and let me know if you're interested. But I have to just give a shout out to Dr. Athena Kepler. Take a look at her book, The Fundamentals of Canine Athlete Nutrition, and take a look at this article, Prancing Healing and the Age of Amazing Trainers. I really do think that our training is superb, and you see some of those people at the top level and they do their dogs. The work that they put in is fantastic. But now let's also look at our dogs. So if you are going to be training your dog for fun because you enjoy the training, then you can also do your conditioning because it's just as enjoyable. You have loads of fun with the dog. You have extra bonding with the dog. And I promise you, it makes your sport training that much more. We talk about various things, various muscles, how you can protect them, how different dog structures are impacted. So take a look and let me know how it goes. As for me and my dogs, we are going to be training this weekend. I hope you do the same. And actually saying, what is the name of the book? The name of the book is Fundamentals of Canine Athlete Nutrition. Go take a look. You can go look at Athena Kepler's Facebook page. She has got it there, and I know that it is available on something in Barnes. I'll put a post. I'll put a link in in these comments for you. But go take a look. I've heard really good reviews about it. We're still waiting for it here in South Africa. I think I must go and get the download version. So I'll say good afternoon to everybody. Have a very great rest of your day. Have happy training with your dogs. Remember to condition and maintain your dog's body to show off your training, because that body is the thing that is associated with you as a trainer. Barnes and Noble Bookstore. Thank you, Bob. Barnes and Noble Bookstore for Athena Kepler's book. I'm going to say cheers. I'm going to put up my details, and you can take a look at our page. Have an awesome weekend. Bye-bye, everybody. Let me put up my details here. You can go look at our webpage. If you enjoyed what you learned here today, please like and share. That's how we can get more people to see and understand and protect their dog's body, because that's what we are all about. Okay. Kelly, awesome that you're here. It is my pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Annika, Anat, Bob, Riani. Awesome that you guys are here. And I shall see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.